So what apparently happened, the Germans picked up at random 38 people, mostly Jews, some Christians, and they shot them. They shot them not to be killed instantly, they shot them to bleed, to suffer, until they expired, and then they put them into a pit, not in a normal fashion, the way you throw in stones. And this happened on September 11, 1939. So when we tried to identify those bodies 3 months later, it was extremely difficult, because the bodies, if somebody is buried for 3 months, the bodies are partially decomposed. So it took a long time anyway. After a while, my stepmother recognized my father's body by the certain items that he had in his clothing that she was familiar with. She collapsed, and for me, at that point, it was a terrible experience. You can imagine a boy of 13 looking at his father's decomposed face. I have nightmares to this very day, images from that scene. It was a terrible, terrible way. Anyway, the following day, we took those victims to our cemetery to give them a proper burial. And it took a long time to prepare a mass grave. We didn't have in those days earth-moving machinery that you see today. And I was standing next to my father's casket as a young kid, talking to him, crying for hours until they prepared a mass grave. I was crying, praying, and asking him a simple question. Daddy, why did they kill you? I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it at the age of 13, and believe you me, I don't understand it at the age of 86, that I'm today, why did they murder my father? It was terrible. I talked to him, where am I going to go? Who's going to take care of me? I was only 13 years old. I was completely devastated. What gave me the courage to get up in the morning? It's a very good question. You know, the human instinct is to survive. Everybody wants to live. I mean, the majority, some people give up. All I do know is I wanted to survive. Why did I want to survive? Because I wanted to go back to that environment of home that I was uprooted from. So I did want to survive. There were some people who gave up, and it was very easy. You just stop eating altogether and you die, you see. This was not my feeling. First of all, you have to remember I was very, very young. I couldn't philosophize. I was not a philosopher. I didn't even know what I'm doing here. I was a little kid. What did I know about life? What I did know that I want to go back to my stepmother. She was such a beautiful human being. I knew already that my father was murdered. So that is basically, you see, I'm quite often being asked this question, what kept you going? I don't have clear-cut answer. What I do know is, for sure, that my fate, I was brought up in a very religious home. I continued to pray, even though they took away from me my prayer book, but I remembered most of the prayers by heart. I continued to pray and hoping and praying to God that He's going to come to my rescue. So I wanted to survive. This I know. And maybe I was just lucky that I'm here and my brother is not here. But I was so weak, and I am not ingrained in me to go to kill somebody. I had a very tough time after the war. But to your question, it was a completely surprise. Not only surprise, I was completely confused. I didn't know what to do with my freedom. Where do I go? I have no strength, I have no money, I have no family. And then later on, a German family invited me to stay in their house until I recover. And then I went back to Poland to see if somebody survived. This was the only way to find out. There were no computers, and even the Red Cross couldn't give you reliable information. So you go back to your hometown. I went back to my hometown. I knocked at the door of my apartment. Somebody else lives over there. He didn't let me in. I had a terrible time after the war too. But basically, to your question, under normal circumstances, we should be very jovial and dance and kiss those liberators, but we were so weak. We were stoned. Can a stone cry? Can a stone smile? That is the way we were. It was a very, very, very strange feeling. Even though we all of a sudden were free, but we were so depressed and so worried. Where do I go? Where do I take the strength to go? Where do I take to pay for the ticket to go back? When I went back to Poland, I didn't pay for the ticket. I had no money. I was in very, very bad shape, even after the war. But to your question, that feeling was very, very unusual. And we should have been very happy and dance out of joy that we are going to be free. But we were very confused. We didn't know exactly what to do with ourselves. What I can tell you is, and I'm very honest, the Holocaust lives within me. If you are tortured the way I was tortured, you are tortured for the rest of your life. And then I have constant reminders. I take a shower, I see my scars all over. You see this, for example? This is from those days. So how can you forget that? I live with the Holocaust is within me. You see, I can go to a wedding, for example, and have a happy face. And all of a sudden, my face changes. People ask me, what happened to you? You don't feel good? I'm getting flashbacks. I'm here now talking to you. We are going to leave. I look at this picture, and I say to myself all the time, where was I and why? How much could I have endured? I just mentioned this before when I was liberated. It's hard to believe that this is the same person. My total weight was 80 pounds. I was skin and bones. I could embrace here with my one hand, the hip with one hand. In fact, the Russian doctors who liberated me, they didn't give me hope to live. So, it's not over. It will never be until I die. So this is not something that I can part from.